think we need a cantor to begin. Unless you guys want me to sing. That got quiet. You should be coming up here right about. The con is yours.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Welcome. It is wonderful to see all your faces. We begin by praying with Hine Matov from Psalm 133. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
So great to see all of your faces and also all of your faces watching at home, even though our sanctuary started to be filled with such wonderful presences. It's still a virtual service, so you'll see our virtual prayer book for those at home, the majority of you, somewhere around Cantor Whitner's head. And hopefully the more we get in with more vaccines, we just want everyone to know that we're still technically a virtual service as we do these soft openings. And let our service begin. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and endless wandering, it has endured. This synagogue, it's a beacon of truth, it's a beacon of love, it's a beacon of justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We continue with our candlelight blessing.
אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של Shabbat.
For those who are able or those at home, we rise in spirit for our Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כיוונו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
Kovod l'chaim, please be seated. Faking the funk. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure, but what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but especially to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder on the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world is our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, and day of peace. We continue with Psalm 95.
מפניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו כי אל גדול אדוני ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים אשר בידו מחקרי ארץ בתועפות הרים לו אשר לא הים והוא עשהו מייבשת ידיו יצרו כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו אמר איתו וצאן ידו.
We welcome the Shabbat into our presence with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך חנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד ישמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שם ולתפארת ולתהילה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו בני אל חגים, מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה מחשב בתחילה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דמרי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We rise together to greet Shabbat HaMelkah, the Shabbos Queen.
בואי ושלום עטרת מלאכם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולם. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לחנדונתי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Teach me, O God, a blessing or a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf and a ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, and to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. And we continue with our Chetzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשם. בריחו לאלה מן כל בחטא ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן.
And we rise.
my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
There's one who sings a song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There's one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There's one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yadadai dai dai. 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 Yadadai dai dai.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. We continue with Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbeinu uvkumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu be'orech yameinu, u'bahem nehegeh yomam v'layla. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד, מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together, our song of redemption, our Michamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אליהם, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that when we lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will, our prayer for strength, our Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrei. the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Mehamidenu shomreinu
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happens once upon a time happens all the time. We continue with Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini ubein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Meshameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ubayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash. Meshameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer might not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and especially rebuild a weakened will. We rise together for tefillah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chastei Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם, אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to rest and truth. May all who struggle find that comfort on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. We continue with Ritzeh.
Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel Tehil leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael amecha el karov lechol kore'af enei elavatecha mechonenu shefoch ruchacha aleinu betechazena eineinu meshuvcha leTzion berachamim Baruch atah Adonai המחזיר שכינתו
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O thou eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make it tepid rain within our homes, health and happiness with our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship, among the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of thy name hallow every home and every heart. Praise you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. בטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We take a few moments for silent prayer. רצון אמרי פי, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו מעל כל ישראל, מאמרו ואמרו At this moment in our service, we take time to think of those in our community, those especially who are in need of strength of body or spirit. On this Shabbat, we think of Linda Applebaum, Harriet Bagby, Cindy Bailey, Katie Bates, Harold Seitlin, Deborah Chargois, Sunita Costa, Hannah Lillian Fox, Buster and Eileen Griffith, Elaine Gross, Josie Hatfield, Bart Colbert, Jerry Lapidus, Wayne Lewis, Jan Milet, Beth Scher, Chrissy St. Charles, Mitch Schneider-Kraut, Elena Stern, John Olhar, Jesse Weisberg, Elisa Roseburg-Whitehead, Maisie and Teddy Wright, and Edgar Zimmerman. If you are thinking with a loved one and wish to share a name out loud for those who are with us tonight, please share that name as my eyes meet yours. For those names mentioned out loud and for those names that are still in our hearts, our prayer for healing, our Misha Berach.
Of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This past Sunday, Cantor, Whit, and I, we attempted to do a Yizkor service, a contemporary Yizkor service to mourn the past year of the pandemic. This has been about a year that we have been suffering, and unfortunately, sometimes these happen due to technical difficulties. We heard each other, but those watching at home, you didn't hear us, and therefore, we feel that we have a sense of obligation, part of our Jewish values, to continue to do this. And traditionally, Yizkor is done on Yom Kippur Day, the 8th day of Sukkot, which is Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day of Pesach, and the 2nd of Shavuot. These are all Yontif, and even though we're on Shabbat, we still feel that it is appropriate. So we're going to do a modified version, just two important prayers, followed by a drash on my end. And the first one that we will do is Shaviti.
Shiviti Adonai, lenegdi tamid, ki mimini bal emot, lachin samach libi vayagel kevodi, af mesari yishkon lafetach, ki lo tazov nafshi lishol, lo titein chasidcha lirot shachat, todieni orach chaim, orach chaim. Sova semachot et panecha
When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting my hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We continue with Psalm 23.
Adonai roi lo echsar binot deshayar bitzeini al mei menuchot Yeshovev Yancheini b'magelei tzedek Yancheini b'magelei tzedek leman shemo Kam ki eilech begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha Shulchan neged
A psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I lack nothing. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me to water and places of repose. God renews my life. God guides me in the right paths as befits God's name. Though I walk through the valley of the deepest darkness, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod, your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table for me in full views of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My drink is abundant. Only goodness and steadfast love shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai for many long years. As I said before, we sang Shaviti. Yizkor, for the most part, it's about 1,000 years old, stemming from the Ashkenazic tradition in the German-speaking lands. And for us, we normally do this on Yom Kippur Day, right before we conclude Yom Kippur services. But for us tonight, and which should have been last Sunday, I think we're all here to mourn the 2.6 million deaths from COVID and those who have suffered with over 120 million cases. And there were over 534,000 deaths here in the U.S. But for us, I think we have an obligation to mourn for those who have passed away, and we also have to mourn the life that we lived the past year. As I said last week, the idea of physical distancing or social distancing, it's not in our Jewish lexicon. And normally during a Yizkor service, especially on Yom Kippur, this is when we read the names of those members in our community that passed away. Rather, I'm not going to do that. I think for us, I think we have to mourn the fears and the uncertainty that this virus caused us. I think it's certainly appropriate to mourn the economic disaster. Those with you who have mortgages, businesses, debt, tuition. Those who woke up each day, especially a year ago from now, wondering how we were going to pay for our bills. I think we should mourn this. We also should mourn our children who weren't at schools, and those children who are not able yet to be in schools, and quite frankly, they should be. Those who tried to learn on a tablet, which is all but impossible. We also have to think of those with special needs. They digress because Zoom learning or physical distance learning, that's not what they signed up for. They needed to interact with a person. Those with cancer or other illnesses who weren't able to get into the hospital due to this virus, I think we have to mourn that too as well. I've talked about this at length. We have to mourn the loneliness, those who are isolated, those who are alone in hospital rooms suffering, and those who are convalescing and didn't have anybody there by their side. And for those other life cycles, I'm truly sorry that we were unable to visit you in the hospital, but we're thrilled that UAB has finally allowed clergy to come in. But those funerals, so many of you had a loved one, a friend who have passed away. You were only allowed to have a few people at Elmwood. That was it. We couldn't have a proper Shiva to mourn, to embrace those who needed us more than ever. I think we have to mourn that too as well. I know I spoke about this during my Erev Rosh Hashanah sermon, and I certainly hope this is the last time that I drosh about COVID. During Rosh Hashanah, my message was not to forget, but to remember this year and all of its difficulties. but there needs to be part 2 or part B, kind of like the second COVID vaccine. And I think the message for us as we move to a year of healing, a year of being together, is not to take things for granted anymore. When we wake up in the morning, the first prayer we say is Modeh ani lefanecha, melachai v'kayam. We're thanking God for starting a new day, the day to start something new, to pray, to be with people, to smile, to cry, to hope. And I think as we begin this new year, in a way it is a new year, this is our year where we don't take things for granted anymore. It's a time when it's safe to say, I want to see my family. I want to pick up and talk to a friend and not text someone. It's a year to encourage those family dinners, to be together, to kibitz. It's that time when we don't let our inconveniences get to the best of us. If we know that someone is admitted to the hospital, we don't think to ourselves, we don't want to bother them, or they don't need to see me. Show up. I think Mark Twain said once, you're never wrong if you do the right thing. It's never wrong to do a mitzvah. I think this is a year when we make more Shiva calls. This is a year where we check in on people. This is a year where we go for more walks and spend time. None of us can do what we did the past year anymore. We're human beings. We are creatures destined to be with people. And when God created the world, the first thing that God said that wasn't good is when Adam was alone in the Garden of Eden, and that's why he created his partner Eve to be with him. So as we embark on this new journey together, and I gotta tell you, as Ken and I see all of your faces here with us, and we felt your presence even on the Zoom this past year, make that extra effort this year. Seek out, go for it, knock on a friend's door. This will change us in so many different ways. We won't forget this past year, but we'll strive to be better, more compassionate, empathic, and outgoing. Shabbat Shalom. And as we end with hopefully something positive, I want to do one more thing before we conclude tonight's service. And Mark, if you're able, can you join me with Maureen, your wife? Hold his arm. Watch this. How we do it in Michigan. Right over there. We're all vaccinated. If I'm correct, 2 years ago you celebrated your 68th birthday, correct? And if I'm correct, 2 years ago you celebrated this birthday, probably weren't aware that it was your birthday because you were admitted at UAB's ICU after a terrible accident that discovered all sorts of illnesses. And I remember you were the first congregant that I ever visited in the hospital. I have no doubt 2 years ago this was an incredibly scary moment for your family. As you wrestled to live, you made every effort and you fought so hard. And I remember seeing you last year during a kiddo service, seeing your face, being so excited to be back at Temple Emanu-El, the home that you love. And here we are tomorrow celebrating your 70th birthday. And boy, seeing you now versus 2 years ago, we all thank the God of Most High that we have came to this moment. And I want all of our Temple Emanu-El family to know, 4 or 5 or 6 months ago, whenever it was, you called me. You said, I wanted to give back. Is there something that I could do at Temple? I said, of course. And you owned up to it. Catherine and Monica, our staff, we reach out to you. And I think 3 times a week or 4 times a week, I think you have nearly called every single congregant here at Temple Emanu-El to wish them a happy birthday, to check in on their well-being, to give us clergy to say, hey, guys, call this congregant that needs some extra support. You're a blessing to be with us. We love seeing you daily, and may you have a wonderful 70th birthday. And I want to give you a prayer and then thank God for reaching to this milestone. River of light and truth, you have sustained our dear friend Mark in many years, and you brought him to this place in his life's journey. Let you look out with wisdom from the high ground of your years and experiences over the terrain of your life. Always let you gaze out toward the past, to the future, with a heightened sense of your presence as your own guide. Let you see that growth is not reserved for anyone or any season, and that love and fulfillment are not the exclusive providences of the young. Tomorrow we celebrate your life's continuing unfolding. Let you be awestruck by the wonder of your being and your family. We pray that kindness and compassion will always be on your lips, which they always are, and strength and courage will be with you in the comings and goings. And may you continue to learn and teach those who are so dear to you. Adonai, you are a creator. You are the first and the last. May your life ever be a song and praise to the God of Most High. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You give of your wisdom to flesh and blood. And come stand over here in front of your Temple Emanu-El family as we thank God for bringing us to this moment, and we ask the congregation to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Help Mark down, but we're going to stay standing for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, בגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
More to our friend Dr. Warren Gawant. Happy birthday to you as well today. Toby, you guys share the same birthday?
Mazel.
Mazel tov. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth our loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to all of us and to all of humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love, the meaning of loss, the meaning of life, and the meaning of death. On this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of Henry Eisenman, Rita Jane Barish, Simon Black, Dorothy Bonfield, Samuel Bornstein, Alice Ida Berdowski, Riva Bree, Mary Champion, Aileen R. Chapman, Samuel Cohn, Marvin Cohn, Thelma Cook, Robert Deegan, Robert Harold Dyer Smith, Kalman T. Estrach, Ralph Estridge, Mimi Fiordalisi, Louis Fox, Samuel Goldstein, Ruthie Gornick, Irving Zuli Harris, Sam Hartman, Gerald Jacobson, Clara Kaufman, Matthew Kernan, Jacob Klotman, Harry Kolber, Lillian Lapidus, Molly Levin, Max P. Levitt, Elizabeth Manchin, Charles Monheit, Lauren Corman Moran, Celia Milsing Oppenheim, David Petrovsky and Leonard Petrovsky, Isidore Pazitz, Rose Rips, Earl Roman, Robert Meyer, Teddy Rubin, Emma Schoen, Hannah Schulman, Jerry K. Seaton, Samuel A. Shapiro, Harry Spiegelman, Frida Spivak, Max Stern Jr., Henry J. Swedlaw, Sam Vittman, Jeanette Weinberg, Elaine R. Weissman, Ann Wildstein, Florence Wolf, Martha Kaufman-Wolf, and June Wolin. And heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Robert Brost, Ruth S. Engel, Lee Lichter, Norman Morgan, Sarah Ann Polimus, Judith Ratner, Max Steinmetz, and our heart faces east towards Atlanta for the 8 victims who were murdered.
Sheila and Paul Klein.
May their memories forever be a blessing, and we rise together for united congregation for a martyr's Kaddish. Yikadal, Bikadash, Shemei Rabbah, Bioma Divrach Erotev Amlich Malchute, V'chayachon of Yom Echon, Uvchayet the called Beit Yisrael, Bagala Wizman Kari V'yamru,
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam Olamei Maya, Yit Barach, Yishtabach, Yit Ba'ar, Yit Romam, Yit Naseh, Vita Dar, Vita Lev, Vita La, Shemei Dekutsha,
Barichu.
Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechamata, Damin Ram B'yoma V'yamru,
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael V'yamru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'imromav, Hu Yasei Shalom, Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael V'yamru, Amen.
Ose shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru. Amen.
Before we conclude with Adon Olam, our task force wants me to do our deboarding the airplane routine here. Even though we're all vaccinated, and before it was like 15 minutes, that was an exposure without being a mask, but they're worried about a bottleneck, but I'm a little bit more rational. But they want this side of the room, the first half, to go through those doors, and the back of the half to go through those doors, and then when they're done, you guys can figure it out. But we're all adults here. It's going to be okay. Let's conclude Shabbat services.
אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. יה דה 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 יה דה יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה יה דה 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 יה דה 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 דה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להחמירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה. והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. יה דה 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 יה דה יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה יה דה 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 יה דה 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 דה. בידו אפקיד רוחי, בית ישן ואעירה, ועם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. יה דה 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 יה דה יה דה 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 יה דה 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 יה דה 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 야 다 다 다 다 야 다 야 다 다 다 다 야 다 다 다 다 다 다 다. Good Shabbos, everybody.